You are listening to Missed Apex Podcast. We live F1. Well, it's summer, so we live it in a very sort of pre-recorded way, but we're living F1 well on holiday. Welcome to Missed Apex Podcast. I'm your host, Richard Reddy, but my friends call me Spanners, so let's be friends. So this is a pre-recording, recorded on the 13th of August. It's sweltering hot, but I've got a good buddy here to talk through some interesting F1 topics. If all has gone well, there was a summer news show last week with Matt and Jono, and there's going to be the crew doing a Zandvoort preview in 3 days' time, and then I'll be back for the Zandvoort race review. Zandvoort race review. This week, though, I want to talk about this quote tweet thread that went a bit viral from F1 History. So you can go and follow them at Today F1 History on X. And they had the meme of the person surrounded by a lot of people saying, yes, you're all wrong, and saying, what Formula One take has you in that situation? And the quote tweets from that were incredible and fun. So we're going to go through that. And I also want to talk to Missed Apex darling Chris Stevens, and I want to get the lowdown on his experience of being an actual Le Mans commentator. It's been amazing to watch his journey from just commentating at our karting events and just being broadly terrible in our iRacing series to then develop those skills without thanking us in any way, shape or form to be an actual TV commentator. So it's Chris Stevens joining me for the festivities and the summer fun today. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Spanners. It is pretty sweltering, but there is a massive storm that has just started brewing. So I've had to close all the windows that I've just opened to try and let some cool air in.
So for context, while Chris was sorting that out, I went and got towels, and I've had to put towels around me and a face towel because we are that hot. Hopefully that means that everybody has been enjoying their summer. So I think we get into some of these F1 hot takes that get you in boiling hot trouble, according to the quote tweets of at Today F1 History. And I want to see your reaction to them, Chris. And then, if you don't mind, I want to grill you a little bit about your TV experiences this year.
Oh, that sounds absolutely fantastic.
All right, then let's go for the first one, which is about the sort of soul of Formula One. And I like this question because I've flip-flopped and I've changed my mind on this. And this is from A Race Fan 33. By the way, this is done with the permission of the F1 History account. We're not just ripping off their content. Okay, so A Race Fan 33 says, a race doesn't need overtakes every lap to be exciting. A battle of strategies can provide just as much entertainment. Now, this is me about 4 or 5 years ago, where I'm like, actually, if you've been watching since the 90s, you know, there was no overtaking. It's a battle of wits. You can race in the timing screens. It's about finding a way round. It's about management. You know, it's almost an endurance race. And that is the position I would have had for years. And that was quite a gatekeepery position, because what I was scared of was Formula One changing from the thing I have grown up with and the thing that I enjoy. And for me, vehicles breezing past each other, no offense to like MotoGP or Superbikes, but when I used to watch that as a kid, I go, overtaking is incredibly easy there, or certainly frequent. And that didn't have the same magic for me as watching Formula One, even though overtakes were much, much rarer. These days, though, Chris, I don't want to gatekeep. I just genuinely, I know how many fans there are that didn't go through that same hothouse of 90s Formula One as me. And I do want everyone to enjoy it as well. So I do think, I appreciate the strategy. I try and bring everyone on board with me, and I try and get everyone to watch the timing screens and, hey, this is what I look out for. But, you know, it's 2025. Kind of want some overtakes too, so everyone can have fun.
Well, I'm going to gloss over you saying that MotoGP and Superbike racing isn't entertaining.
No, but it didn't appeal to me. And all about the overtake. Like, they were swapping. They go, there's been 18 overtakes. I go, well, okay, that just shows that overtaking's not that hard.
I wouldn't say that, but I could talk for 20 minutes on that. This take, I absolutely agree with it, though, because if we think about some of the most memorable overtakes, it's because they were difficult. And definitely in this era where DRS is just like a free overtake 90% of the time, which is not entertaining to me at all, I find entertainment in there being multiple contenders in the fight for a win, even if they're not necessarily chopping and changing every lap, I find the chase is better than the catch, sometimes. And oftentimes if there's a mix of strategies and that's giving like, oh, how's this going to play out? That to me is still super entertaining. So yeah, I know we have to appeal to the TikTok generation now that have an attention span of 4 seconds, but I don't need there to be passes all the time.
Okay, but you can have a great race where there's not loads and loads of passes. So the last Grand Prix, which was in, oh my God, was weeks and weeks ago now. Hungary, where
that was a good race.
Where Norris had the one-stop strategy. There wasn't like a clear pass between the two of them. There was an attempt from Piastri, but I thought that was a really good strategy race. And watching it unfold, like I really flip-flopped between Piastri's got this. Oh my God, he's chewing it up. Like, wow, he's got this to Norris can hang on. This will be an amazing victory. And there wasn't a load of overtaking going on there, but it was a good race. However, I wouldn't expect a casual fan, and you are allowed to be a casual fan, by the way. You don't have to live and breathe every second of F1. I wouldn't expect a casual fan to want to sit and be captivated by that every single week. There needs to be something more to bring people in. Or we can go back to F1 being a really niche sport where you never ever met another Formula One fan, because that's what it used to be like.
Oh yeah, 100%. I remember being like one of 2 people basically in my year group at school who knew what Formula One was really about, let alone, watched it weekend in, weekend out. And I remember on Fridays, I used to be really upset that I'd be missing free practice. So I'd be, scrolling for updates on my phone. Yeah, it is very different now. And I get that, we've got a new audience in and we have to try and keep them. But at the same time, I feel like the audience is always going to come and go anyway. I feel like the best way to retain an audience is to have a nice title fight, and for some reason, people aren't really engaging with the Norris and Piastri title fight. I don't really understand.
Okay, that's a bit of a side. That's a bit of a side topic that I'm willing to divert onto.
Yeah,
but this is a bit of an I don't really want to say it out loud, but yeah, you're right. Like, this isn't Prost Senna, is it? People are not as excited about Piastri versus Norris. It's the title fight that we've got, and it's on. So pick a side and go to war. But there's certainly this isn't a Hamilton Rosberg even kind of fever about this.
It's so rare to have 2 people fighting for, like, it's a 2-horse race for the title, and it's the first for both of them. That is super rare.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You've got the established driver and someone new coming in and taking the fight to them. You think Lewis and Max, Senna and Prost. That was the one. When Schumacher was fighting for titles as well. And then ultimately in the latter stages of his career, you had people like Montoya challenging him for titles and Alonso as well. So I guess that was part of the appeal of it. But now we just know, one of these guys is going to end up winning their first title.
Oh man, I wonder if I hadn't have been British, would the Brawn title have felt like that to us? Because it's basically a car sort of comes out of the midfield with 2 drivers who weren't previously in contention.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's 2009 would have been the last one, wouldn't it? Because obviously Jensen, all the people in that, there was because you had Jensen and Rubens who had barely won races, let alone fought for titles. Rubens was only allowed to win races when Ferrari let him.
Yeah, well, Barrichello had been a real out and out number 2.
100%. And then Seb Vet was in the title fight that year as well in the developing Red Bull. So that obviously would have been his first back in 2009 as well, had he ended up getting it. So yeah, that's really interesting.
It's a funny one, isn't it? I don't think we've voiced this before because obviously the Australians are fully behind Piastri. So and Norris has his fan base. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't seem to have the same mass imagination. I think you might have put your finger on it there, which is that neither of them has kind of been on this run of, well, I'm an established champion, I've got my fans, and also I've upset enough people along the way that people are desperate just for anyone else. So I guess a lot of people were on the anyone but Lewis Hamilton bandwagon. And if you're fairly new to Formula One, I watched people flip flop. I watched usernames flip flop from being Alonso fans to then being Rosberg fans to then being Vettel fans. Basically, whoever was fighting Lewis. So that kind of thing happened with Hamilton, but that hasn't had a chance to build up with either of these two yet. But but this could also be the beginning of one of the great battles of Formula One. Who knows?
Oh yeah, we'll look back on this in 20 years' time and think, God, that was good, wasn't it? Like two young drivers fighting for their first world championship together as teammates as well. I think that's a super interesting storyline. Not everyone seems to agree with that. But ultimately, yeah, I don't need overtaking for.
Yeah, sorry about that tangent. Hey, look, this is summer. If you're taking a break from the beach to listen to us, you know what we're like when it comes to off-season stuff. The last thing I'll say on that is I stand by my opinion that McLaren are handling this in the best possible way, actually letting them make their own strategy calls. Because then each driver can go to their strengths. And I think we'll see repeats of Hungary where Piastri takes that, gimme, just keep throwing tyres at me and I'll just make up the pace. And Norris using his strengths of, hey, I can lean on the tyres a little less, I can stretch them out a little longer, which gives me options on track. So you don't need overtaking every lap. In a way, that is a bit of a straw man, because I don't think the new generation is saying they need to be swapping positions every lap, but there should be some racing. And so recently there was uproar of Dominicali suggesting that the sprint races would have a reverse top 10. And we had people like you, your side of the fence, people like joyless curmudgeons saying, oh, but that would rip the heart. And I'm thinking that and going, it will be fun. We are so happy whenever the qualifying order is mixed up. Do you remember when they used to have a lot more engine penalties? And you go, oh, brilliant. Look, we've got Verstappen down in 10th. And he's got to make his way through the field. So we do like it when something like that comes around. But we're not like Americans where we go, hey, let's just do something fun on purpose. We have to accidentally have fun.
I didn't really like watching, Verstappen coming up from 18th at Monza, because they always seem to take their grid penalties either at Spa or Monza. Felt like it actually diluted those races, because it's like, hey, we could have had 4 people fighting for a win, but 3 of them have got grid penalties, so actually we've only got one guy who's going to win it super easy. I prefer it when we've got all of our contenders up at the front.
There used to be a phenomenon if one of them had to take a grid penalty, where I think it's when the Mercedes were dominant. So whichever Mercedes had a grid penalty or had qualified out of position, you'd see them charging through the field and you go, oh, will they be able to overtake the other one? But what the other one is doing is fully chilling out, saving all their tyres, saving everything. And by the time the other driver caught up, they could just go off and disappear. So it was a bit contrived. But given that sprint races are here to stay, and they're a bit of a nonsense anyway, because it's just the first stint of a Grand Prix without the threat of having to make those tyres last, or without the threat of someone doing an undercut, or why not then say, well, look, if we're going to do it, a reverse top 10 is absolutely fine, as long as it's not reverse top 10 of the sprint qualifying order. If it's like reverse championship top 10, I think you've got some real opportunity just to have a bit of fun on a Saturday. And bearing in mind, everyone is then really risking their Grand Prix car and deciding how much they want these sprint points and how much they want to overtake. But the biggest flaw in Formula One, since its history, the biggest flaw in Formula One is that the fastest car starts at the front and then they go in order on the way back. Then the green light goes off and everybody is surprised that the fastest car stretches away from the second fastest car, and so on. Like, it's a massive flaw in nearly every sport of motor racing. I think every sport of motor racing would massively benefit from even random grids.
Yeah, so there is a racing series, the Legends Cup, which is basically where you take a sort of Beetle frame.
I know this. Yes.
You see it sometimes on the touring car.
It's great on iRacing. It's so much fun.
It is the best quality racing you'll ever see. So what they do, because the grids are so massive as well, you'll have, I think, 2 or 3 heats, depending on the grid sizes. Those grids will be completely random. And then the points you accrue in those heats will set your position for the main race, which has the biggest points, but they'll flip that on its head. So because you're scoring points in all of those races, you're still incentivized to charge through the order, regardless of where you're starting in your heat. Now that's slightly different because obviously it's a Beetle chassis. It's like there's no aero in it whatsoever. It's like a super entertaining series. But I feel like you're gonna say like, oh, you're just being like historian and purity of Formula One. But when we are talking about the elite level of sport, we can't have those kind of gimmicks. You wouldn't throw 3 extra tennis balls into Wimbledon just to watch them whack it a little bit.
Have you not seen those air hockey machines where you're playing and then all of a sudden, I think it's the Pac-Man ones, then all of a sudden like 50 little pucks. Yeah. I would do that. You're speaking to the wrong person. But yeah, no. It would definitely ruin the purity of the sport. And so there's a balance to be had between the Legends Cup that you're talking about there and just making F1 a little bit more interesting sometimes. So, I mean, it's called a Grand Prix. You know, it's the grand prize. And so you would definitely cheapen the win doing that. But I don't think you need to be married to such a inherently flawed format, because then you're having to do other artificial things anyway. Like if you had DRS in 90s racing would have been better with DRS. That's going to be an incredibly... that's my opinion that has me surrounded with everyone saying you're all wrong. But yeah, rose-tinted glasses, we do have to go and do a watch-along of a 90s race. It would not stand up. It would... Yeah, there you go. You're dreading it. We all hark back to like those great eras and those great driver battles. But oh my goodness, it would have been improved with some DRS.
Yeah, I agree. I can't fault that logic. But at the same time, I'm so looking forward to not having DRS anymore.
Yeah, but then it's another thing. It's just like, magic button. But no one cares about magic overtake button.
I think that's more pure. Because that is a little bit more in the driver's control. It's not like every lap you got to save that up and use it strategically. If we had DRS as it was, so back before DTM became a GT3 championship, German touring car championship, they had DRS as well in their era of like the fastest cars they ever had, which were magnificent machines. But they had an allotted amount of DRS. You had a number of seconds for it. And it didn't matter, 1 second to the car in front didn't matter, right? You could just use it strategically. That, to me, is so much more appealing than the current system, the way DRS is used.
Yeah, so, a bit more driver skill to it instead of it being like in a certain zone or whatever.
Exactly. Same with that's kind of why I like the what's it called? The OTT, the manual over. I hate the name of it.
It's going to be
push to pass.
It's going to be the MOM. It's going to. That's what they're calling it. It's going to be the
No,
there's going to be there's going to be so many mum jokes, isn't there? Crazy.
No.
McLaren
one. That's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
This is going back 2 weeks now, but McLaren decided to put out a tweet. Please say that they were in on their own joke. They said, our pit stop record is 1.8 seconds. What could you do in that time? And I was surprised I had to scroll down quite a way before. Do you know what? That's not safe for work, so we're not going to say it. But we'll put a link in the show notes, maybe.
Fill it in. You'll be able to connect the dots.
There's going to be a lot of mum jokes anyway for this deployment. So, okay, I get it. But again, that is something that you're putting in there that you wouldn't need if there was an element of randomness in the grid. You wouldn't need DRS. You wouldn't need these sticking plasters because you'd have a natural speed difference that would enable overtaking.
I feel like the difference between the cars is not enough to just make it like, no, you don't need DRS or push to pass or anything anymore.
So we need something that changes your speed unexpectedly. So either tire wear, your rear flap gets to open, or you suddenly have access to a bit more battery power.
Yes.
Or you're in the wrong order.
I feel like that is needed even when you're passing what would be deemed to be a slower car. Because all that would take, right, is for Alpine to say, we're going to run a Monza trim wing and we'll just be unbeatable in a straight line. And then that's it. You're done. You're cooked.
All right, let's move on then. We've got here two similar ones from @Bernabeu Knights, and @Bueno OFC. Chris, this is why we have a real names policy in our Discord chat. Who goes on there? I'm going to make my username @WEN. It's probably a football team. Anyway, Here's the takes. A driver cannot drive a car beyond its limit. This is F1, not Fast and Furious. And that's from Burnabout Nights. And then the other one is F1 fans who came because of DTS, boo, gatekeeping, will probably give up on the sport in a year or two when the hype dies down over the focus on drivers and over dramatizes their work. When in reality, F1 is an engineer's sport and there's no such thing as a driver doing miracles. I'd say I hate this one, Chris. A driver cannot drive its car beyond its limits. I think there are fans out there who genuinely believe that there are some drivers who can like add some go faster juice to the ultimate pace of a car.
No, they do the Fast and Furious. You change down a gear and put your foot down harder.
Yeah.
Right. Does that happen in the F1 movie, by the way?
No, it doesn't. They're really good about it. It's a lot of it is based on tire strategy, so which is really realistic. That's realistic, isn't it? Most of F1 now and winning a race is tire strategy, and they do their best to explain it all. There's a lot of exposition. There's like Austin Powers, Mr. Exposition, where the commentary does a lot of heavy lifting. And remember, that's because he's on a softer tire. That's right, Martin. Thanks for reminding us.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely, you can't drive the car. There is physics, right? You can't drive it beyond its limits. What is generally talked about when people use that kind of expression is that they are just driving it much closer to the, if you stuck a robot in the car and it was like do the perfect.
See, eventually you're going to have an AI test driver, aren't you, that shows this is the maximum lap time that's possible. And here's a human that gets close to that.
Well, they're already using AI to do the strategy for them, and it's now starting to work its way into the design of the cars as well, which is why some cars are suddenly becoming trickier to drive because the AI is saying like, yes, this is faster, but also it's so much harder to drive. But they don't care about that. They just care about
that's good for the sport in a way, though, because you're increasing the theoretical limit. If the theoretical limit was beyond what any human could do, then you will get these monster performances as some athletes are able to creep closer to that. I think for most of the time we've been watching F1, there's probably been a reasonably achievable maximum or minimum lap time.
But you'll never see anyone driving on the limit ever again because they just physically can't drive the car that quick because it's very difficult to drive.
I'm not doing down NASCAR, but they are oval specialists, right? So those drivers come through driving ovals, and then I think it's been an increase recently. There's now 6 road courses in NASCAR, and then you've got Shane Van Gisbergen, who can just absolutely destroy the field, and that's because he's in a field of not road car specialists, so drivers who are just kind of doing their best when it gets to the road section. And he was being asked about it. He's like, oh well, I'm taking this curb here, I'm taking that curb there, and I'm gaining a 10th here and there. Oh, you mean doing road course driver things? And so obviously if you put all the F1 drivers in NASCARs on ovals, they would struggle. That's not their speciality. They would lose out. I think they would plummet down the field fairly quickly. But then when it got to road courses, all of a sudden you'd kind of go, you might have more than one Shane Van Gisbergen actually, taking real road course lines, understanding the way you move the weight. And actually, I was listening to some NASCAR fans talking about them going through turn 1 and the S's, and the way they were talking about weight transfer and putting the grip on a certain tire was kind of like, oh yeah, that would be a fairly basic chat for most normal racing fans. Now, what's the opposite of oval racing? Circuit racing fans. That's like a core of the sport. So I think that if you are in F1 and there's somebody really, really dominating, then that or is clearly better than everybody else, that probably does speak to the standard of the whole sport in general. So if you distributed go-karts and they were as available as soccer balls in schools, eventually you would have a whole field of F1 drivers who were pretty much at the very, very top of what a human is able to do in that car. I don't think we have that in F1 now. Is that, they're all amazing. Obviously, they're all better than me. But I think there is a chance that the gap in F1 talent is wider than it would be if F1 was more accessible or motorsport.
I don't think... Oh, if it was more accessible
Yeah.
in terms of like
What
money,
what kids could just do it, and if it was
no,
if no money was ever required.
yes, 100%. That is just factual. Accessibility improves everything. It's a proven fact. I kind of disagree with the notion that there is a sort of wide berth in the talent, because see these days these kids go through so much training, like they're in the simulators
Yeah,
at every
it's probably
opportunity.
closer.
They're
It's
getting all
probably
the
closer than
coaching.
ever. I'm just saying, is it as close as the top level soccer or top level tennis or golf?
No, okay, that notion I agree. It's definitely closer than it's ever been,
Mm.
and that's always improving as those preparation tools just continue to improve.
I
But
picked other rich
yeah,
people sports as well, though. I'm sure I could have thought of a better example.
yeah, no, but there is a golf, because it's not easily accessible. It is a rich person sport, 100%.
So that's not as glamorous, and I think the point that one of those questioners was making was, because there's such focus on the drivers, and there was in the olden days as well. Don't pretend that people didn't deify Ayrton Senna. There's this. He says there's no such thing as a driver doing miracles. A driver can definitely make a difference, right? But he can't make a difference in a midfield car and bring it to the top. And that's what people were saying about Verstappen. People were genuinely, because Bernie Collins had made that comment that without Verstappen it would be the 10th best car. Because she made that comment, I think that's more to do with what they were doing with the second car. Because they made that comment, people were going, "Oh yeah, Verstappen could basically go in any team now and be dominating." Well, now at the moment, Red Bull looks like a bang average midfield team, and Verstappen isn't. He's getting good results, but he's not dragging it to the top every single race.
Helmut Marko said a similar thing as well, where he's like, you put Verstappen in a Haas and he'll win races. It's like, no, he won't.
So, Chris,
It's physically impossible.
I use that comment because it suits my narrative. However, I will say that he was specifically talking about qualifying in intermediate conditions, in like where there's rain or on and off.
Helmut was.
That comment was specifically about interchangeable conditions.
I don't remember that bit, but
probably because I've used it so often.
Those are the conditions where the driver will most likely make a difference. Yes, acknowledged. Or in the damp on slicks. That's it. It's in the damp on slicks, then in the wet, then just in the dry.
And the other thing, though, is consistency. So whilst there's not much you could probably do to improve the overall pace, if you're consistently good on your tires, that means that you're opening up the options for what you can do during a race. If you're making less mistakes, then you're further up the grids more often. So there is that, and I think that's one of the most underrated features actually in F1. And so I think Piastri probably doesn't get as much credit for his talent because it's not as sexy as what Norris can do on occasion. I think Norris can pull off miracles, but out there this season and last season, you probably argue that he's not pulling off those miracles enough. So maybe he's too close to his own limit and he's increasing the error rate. Whereas, Piastri is further up the grid more often this season, and he's driving closer to his capabilities than Lando Norris is. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons for Verstappen's success as well. Is if you're one of these people watching qualifying going, come on, why can't Verstappen be the one to have the Q1 nightmare? Why can't he be the one? Oh, the tyres were not in the window or he's in traffic. Yeah, because he consistently does not do that crap. Like he's not letting down his fans in the way a lot of other drivers do. And, his fans rarely have to deal with those kind of Q1 nightmares. That's the miracles that drivers can do, is doing it at the top level more often than other drivers.
In a similar vein, adaptability. Adaptability is one of the most important skills that any racing driver needs to acquire, because it's not like the car is going to feel the same weekend in, weekend out. I mean, even lap after lap. You think about how much a race car changes over the course of a stint or a race distance. It's not going to feel the same. You're not going to be making those identical inputs lap after lap after lap. So adaptability is so key.
Yeah, no, it is. We were at Brighton, me and Trumpets. We were cheating before a missed Apex event and doing practice laps. Yeah, I do it every time. But Alex
I love it. Yes,
Vanjie,
officer, clap him in irons.
Vanjie said to me, "Goes, yeah, did you do practice laps?" I'm like, Alex, do it every single time. Come on, and it's such an advantage as well on an event because if you just turn up, you'll probably gain like 3/10 every time you get into the car by just learning a new thing. And well, if you've been doing that 3 times the day before, you can, hey, it's my event. I don't get to enjoy the event because I'm always doing all the admin. That's my moral excuse. Is that I just want to go and run some laps without having to worry about how the event is going. But me and Matt ran some laps at Brighton, and it kept just drizzling. So it would go from bone dry. It was a hot day, so it would go from bone dry to full wet, and back again in the course of a session. And every single lap was different. So we were out there with a bunch of guys who from the way they were racing, it doesn't look like they ever race. So from them, they would go from having complete grip and confidence to in the wall, and vice versa. And they ended up like tiptoeing round. Whereas me and Matt, we've just got a little bit more of a feel of, it's starting to grip up a bit. The feeling in your hand changes. You can use curbs differently. And I felt like a god. I felt like a god that day because I could slightly adapt lap to lap, whereas others couldn't. So the extreme end of that is if a regulation set changes, if there's a rule tweak where they take away your flexi wing, if there's some interchangeable conditions, some rain going around. Again, the best drivers, rise to the top. Some drivers spin 8 times at Silverstone and then years later try and take legal action to reclaim that title. Whereas, other drivers like Hamilton, Verstappen really thrive in those conditions and even celebrate when those conditions come up. So yes, there's no such thing as outdriving the car, but it is really difficult to keep driving the car, A, consistently well, and B, as conditions and regulations and everything change. So in a way, they can do miracles, can't they?
Well, yeah, I don't. Ultimately, you can't outdrive a race car. Yes, you can do miracles inside a race car, though. How does that sound?
It sounds like it's time to talk about the miracles that you've been doing, Christopher. So very proud of you. I don't get enough credit because I handed you a microphone. I let you be rubbish on our iRacing series. But we've watched you since a 16-year-old, trying to be a journalist. Do you remember? Do you remember when you tried to be a journalist? Remember when you had integrity?
Those were dark days, weren't they?
But really, the thing with calling a race and bringing your excitement and joy to a race, and I think that's the key things. You do have some commentators who phone it in and go, "Do you want to be here? Like, are you just fed up of everything and hate everything?" But you bringing your joy to our series, and then eventually dumping our series when you had better offers, has been painful but lovely to watch. Explain to us where you are in your career now, and how the Le Mans 24 broadcast came along.
Yeah, so this is very bizarre. I'm kind of in my 3rd year of professional commentary now, and this year was quite a big step up because I ended up working with TNT Sports, which, if you're outside the UK, is what used to be Eurosport
Right.
in this country. It was sort of absolved at the start of this year by TNT Sports.
Absorbed? Absolved?
Yeah, no, absolved? Absorbed. Is what I was going for there. Can you tell I'm a professional broadcaster?
Can you tell that it's about 50 degrees in each of our rooms?
It's a bit, sweating buckets out here. But yeah, so I started working with TNT Sports this year, and that all came about because a friend of mine, Tom Brooks, who anyone who watches Formula E, you'll know his voice. He's the lead commentator there. Anybody who watches the Gran Turismo Esports World Championship Series, you'll know him from that as well. But he had a lot of clashes this year between the British Superbike Championship and Formula E.
Oh, default. That's how I got all my karting commentary gigs.
Yeah.
Was because the existing commentators got better offers. And I'm like, but I'm available and cheap.
Well, actually, he recommended me.
Oh.
So I was just chilling. I think I was about 3 weeks out from the start of another championship that I was already contracted to do. And suddenly I got a text from a producer at TNT being like, hey, so Tom's recommended you for this. Can you come in for a screen test? And I'm like, can I come in for a screen test? I spent like just a week looking at nothing but superbikes and learning everything I could about it. Ultimately, they loved me. They gave me the job. And so, and because I was working on the superbikes and because I became known to TNT, they actually brought me on first, like as a sort of warm up to the superbikes, was to do the Moto Le Mans. So the motorcycle 24 hours of Le Mans, which we did from the studio. And so that was a nice little warm up for me, get used to how everything works, and then the superbike season started. And then they got to know me. They know I'm not an idiot. On air anyway, off air most definitely, but they knew that I knew what I was doing, and that I wasn't going to embarrass myself on air. And so there was an opportunity to do the Le Mans 24 hours, which has been a absolute dream of mine.
Look, that is like top level motorsport commentary. Like there's not actually that much bigger. And to be part of the team that's putting all that together for 24 hours is incredible. So proud of you. And I saw your first kind of segue, like here's the thing,
Atmosphere.
and the stuff is happening, and and I was like, oh my God, you sounded like a person from TV, like no hint of nerves. It was really, really great to see you land in there. So let's talk about a little bit about the mechanics of calling a race like that. So I know you know your sports cars, but there's an awful lot of cars to learn. And as someone who's done occasional commentary, I get thrown into a karting series and you go, well, that car, which there's like green bits on it, identifying the cars. And you're obviously not going to be able to know who is who immediately, which driver is on a stint off the top of your head. Like, it just seems like a nightmare for your first major TV broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was incredibly lucky to get it at all. I was incredibly lucky that Le Mans happened to clash with Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, pretty much everything that all of the established commentators would be working on that normally would be doing Le Mans. So I think they got far enough down the list and found someone that's he'll do. Yeah. And when you talked about the like the atmosphere bit and the build up to the race, having spent 3 days at the track panicking about what I was about to do, and then I came off, from that first bit. I wasn't doing the start of the race. Ben was doing the start, and so I came back into the production office to watch the start, and I got a voice note from you.
What did I say? Oh no,
you said it was like top tier broadcasting,
okay.
Absolutely amazing. No, it was a very pleasant message, and I damn near like started crying. I was tearing up. Because it was just a hugely emotional roller coaster of a weekend.
Oh well, I'm glad I sent that.
And it still wasn't over. We were just at the start of the 24 hours. So part of my job, and something that I just try and do in general, is to stay across as many different series as I possibly can, just so you have that surface level knowledge if you're ever thrown into something last minute. Luckily, I did have quite a bit of prep time. So, I already know that this season in World Endurance, it's all been about Ferrari. They've been dominating. And, obviously the arrival of Aston Martin and things like that. But you go deeper into getting all the stories that have developed throughout the season. And you want to have something to say about every car and ideally every driver. But also for Le Mans, you kind of need to go a little bit more specific as well and get their Le Mans history as well, because we had something ridiculous like 30 rookies on the grid.
Don't you have producers that just hand you little cards with stuff to say?
No, I have someone running to get my lunch, but not to like just give me all the information. That is all down to me.
And tell us a little bit about the personalities that you worked with. Obviously, Alex Brundle was there, who's been on Mr. Apex a bunch.
So it was actually, for my first time working on an event, a weirdly familiar crew, because we've known Alex Brundle for quite a few years now. He's been on the show a few times. And so it was nice, not having complete strangers to work with. The other drivers we had with us were Ollie Webb and Joe Osborne, who I know through commentating on a different championship. So that was quite nice as well, actually.
But also, I guess the difference between when you just get handed a microphone to go and turn up at a kart track or even superbikes. I suppose at Le Mans, you've got such a wealth of experts who are really embedded in that world of endurance racing. That's a double-edged sword because A, you can't get away with any just making stuff up because everybody knows. But B, you've got quite, I'm presuming you were talking to them in between stints and stuff.
Yeah, so we're having conversations, and it's actually a new thing for me this year to have an actual, expert color commentator alongside me, which before this year I'd never really had. Everything I did, I had to be the lead and providing as much insight into racing as I can possibly give, just from my own experiences and things that drivers tell me. But to actually have someone who's raced cars alongside me for the whole thing, that was completely new to me. So one thing I ended up finding was that, because when you put two racing drivers next to each other, because there was usually three of us at one time, they can go for ages, right? So you're just trying to steer them in the right direction. It's like they're being the conductor of an orchestra. You're just getting the right beats in and making sure that you're announcing, oh, these penalties have come through, this thing is happening, and like it's actually relatively light work in terms of the talking, because you have a 24-hour race. It's not like chop and change all the time, right? You're telling the story of the race and trying to give as much insight along the way as you can. So you just kind of lead them to it a little bit, but just nudge them in the right direction.
I think the lead commentator should have license to be wrong. So when people really get at David Croft on Sky F1, oh, he got mixed up and muddled. Yeah, of course he did, because the race car, everything's happening really fast. As long as you've got a good team there that can then unpack it and go, well, actually, I think it was this one or that way, and you get to play correct Crofty. So when he makes a thing and you spot it and then he corrects it, you go, yeah, I just said that. I got that. But I think that's not the job of the commentator like you, to be massively accurate. Be as accurate as you can. But it's much more of a spirit thing, isn't it? And I just wonder, like, how much was there to actually get excited about? Because my experience of watching Le Mans is that 95% of the laps are on the safety car, and the rest of the time it's just multi-class overtakes.
So we only had one safety car this year.
And it was 23 hours long.
No, it was very short intervention. You had the real misfortune, Spanners, of tuning into Le Mans for the first time when we had to run a lot of the race under safety car because of the conditions.
Yeah, first 6 hours.
And at that time as well, they were doing a truly stupid restart procedure that took forever to get underway again. So those two factors combined, I think, has given you the real wrong impression of what Le Mans is about, because it is just 24 consecutive 1 hour sprints these days, because everything tends to be, it's not bulletproof, but that's what you have to run at now to be competitive, because it is so close. We had some really great lead battles. I was very fortunate to get some really good stuff in during my stint. So we had great lead battling between different manufacturers. We had a real good team orders debate that pretty much raged for the whole race, actually, between like the two Works Ferrari cars in the hypercar class and the customer car, the one that ended up winning with Robert Kubica. And there was a moment as well. I think he'd already been in the car for about 2 hours, and it was about 2.5 hours to go. And they get on the radio to him and they say, how comfortable are you going to the end of the race? It's 2.5 hours to go. And you're like, you want him to do
another
5 hours consecutively in the car, which is like unheard of. The stats came out afterwards. He ended up doing about 43% of the race distance, which is obviously more than his share, right? And he absolutely won Le Mans for that car, because he was being hounded at the end of the race, and he was the fastest of the three, so he definitely won the race for them. But there was this great moment where we hear that radio message and we're just like, what? Can he do that? Is that even legal?
Overall, positive for you?
Absolutely. I could not have been part of a more supportive team, and people outside of TNT as well. So, like I said, I spent 3 days on site just panicking about what I was going to do, what I was going to say, during a 24-hour race, am I just going to meander through the whole thing? What if I say something wrong? Like this is the biggest thing I've ever done in my life
so far.
And that was just so far, yeah, that was just playing on my mind an awful lot. But everyone was so supportive. Alex was fantastic. Joe and Ollie. We had an engineer with us, ex-Audi engineer. She was the first female race engineer to win Le Mans back in 2010, I think was her first win. She was wonderful. There were a few other people on the team I knew as well.
It's not an Oscar speech, Chris.
No, look, overall, it was just this, it was a real roller coaster. I probably only scratching about 10% of what ended up happening in what felt like a really long week. I couldn't have imagined that I was going to do this.
Aw, emotions.
I know.
Well, Chris is wrong about making us do a variety of motorsports and watching a variety of motorsports. There's enough F1 on. But should we have a variety of tracks, Chris? So, Baron, who's a Magnussen fan, says track rotation on the F1 calendar is the right decision. Boo!
Oh, I agree.
What?
I agree. I disagree with the tracks they've picked.
Right, go on. Extemporize.
You don't rotate Spa. You do rotate the less interesting ones. The idea of track rotation, though, is quite a good idea because I think part of the problem that we have in terms of Formula One getting a bit stagnant is that the teams know too much about where they're going. Like they go every single year to a lot of the same places. They're like, yeah, we know exactly what will happen if we do this and if we do that. And here at this track, we know about it. That's why teams freak out when there's a resurfacing, because it basically turns it into a new racetrack. When there is a new racetrack, this is big voyage of discovery and things are quite interesting again. I think if you start adding in track rotation, there is enough time to lapse where they're not going to go into every single race weekend. No, we know absolutely everything we need to know already.
Okay, so there's a difference in the type of people, I guess. So in my family, when we discover a new thing, so the four of us will play the game or the video game or the thing, and be, oh yeah, that was good fun. Everyone's like, yeah, that's good fun. We should have another game. And then the ladies in our family will be like, okay, I guess. And then we'll play it, and then me and my boy will be like, but 1,000 more times. Let's do that 1,000 more times, exactly like that. And the girls are like, and they back away like Homer Simpson into the hedge. So when I say like you find a calendar that I like, I want to go, yeah, okay, the next season, oh, brilliant. Can't wait to go to Interlagos again. I can't wait to watch the Silverstone Grand Prix. I can't wait to see them going around Bahrain. Like, I like the tracks I like, and I would hate for Silverstone to be rotated. So if we're saying,
oh, you don't rotate Silverstone.
Yeah. So if we're from this comment saying track rotation is the right decision, that means, broadly speaking, then for that, every track is under threat. So every track is under threat of being rotated. I wouldn't want that. But then you've got a gatekeeper and say, well, which are the correct tracks to have a right? And how do you decide that? Who watches the watchers? I know it's the lifeguard, the Coast Guard, but who watches the Coast Guard?
Yeah, you need to have a core group where you say, no, these are untouchable.
But Spa should have been that, and it's not.
It's Spa, Monza, Silverstone, those good ones, not Zandvoort.
COTA now. COTA's joined them.
COTA, no, I can.
No, you're wrong about that.
Take it or leave it.
Circuit of the Americas, that's an instant classic. It's a great layout. It's well attended.
I'm in the minority.
It's good racing. Yeah. What, the minority of people who are wrong about COTA? Yeah. Like, what is there to not like about Circuit of the Americas? The layout is perfectly suited for modern Grand Prix cars. It's interesting. There's elevation. There's variety of the tracks. They've copied some of the classic layouts, the ones that worked.
That I hate. I hate when a new track comes in and they're like, oh, it's like Maggots and Beckett's. It's like, no, it's not like Maggots and Beckett's. It's a rubbish version of Maggots and Beckett's. It's the same whenever Tilke tried to recreate Turn 8 in Istanbul. In every single circuit he designed for Formula One since then, and they were all rubbish.
No, the Circuit of the Americas, the quadruple right-handers, is a great final sector.
What does it add? What does it add? Nothing.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
There's
that's fine.
one interesting thing that's happened there, and that was Vettel getting all sideways going around.
Hang on a minute.
Someone.
2021, and you had Hamilton chasing down Verstappen there, and it was because of the tyre
Didn't
delta.
happen at
No,
that
because
corner, though,
it
did
was. It was at that corner because of the tyre delta. It was almost enough because of the speed difference. It was almost enough for Hamilton to get around the outside, but Verstappen basically muscled him off track around there. But that was an interesting moment. You asked for like one, and you got two.
So we have two interesting
No, that's not
moments
fair.
from
Right, okay.
13 years of racing there.
That's pretty good. If you ask for classic moments from any given set of corners on any given track, I think you'd be doing pretty well to instantly think of two. But, even the final series of corners is pretty interesting when you do that in the sim. They're very
decent,
challenging corners. And then the up the hill to turn one and having all the load and weight taken away from you as you crest that hill. That even watching even Weck looked good going over turn one.
I don't know. I can just take it or leave it.
Oh, man. Right.
It's fine. I don't love it.
See, now this is it. So are the people who decide which of the untouchable tracks going to be correct like me or wrong like you? And that's now I feel like I want to go through a list of the untouchables because there's a class of track which has done so much for F1 and that I personally love and I think are good racetracks, which probably are not untouchables anymore. Suzuka, Imola, I would put
not Imola.
Nürburgring, not Nürburgring, the
Hockenheim,
Nürburg GP, the GP layout on that.
Nürburgring,
it's a good track. Obviously not suitable for F1 anymore. Barcelona is probably being added onto that. People are always trying to put Hungaroring in that bracket. So
I would rotate Hungaroring.
Oh no! It rotates itself. No. Hungaroring rotates itself between the track where great things happen and nothing happens. So it's already on rotation.
True.
So, I felt really passionate about Hungaroring. No, there's been so many good races at Hungaroring. But, Zandvoort, I guess, it's actually is a good racetrack. It's not a good F1 track. But, yeah, I think when you get into the street tracks, rotate away. Go for it.
Yeah, but the problem is if Formula One are going to be the ones making the decision, it will be the ones that which ones pay us the most? And that will be Vegas, Miami, all the ones that we would not mind being on rotation, all the rubbish tracks that have come in, then they'll be the ones that end up staying.
I like Miami.
Oh my God, just because you've been twice.
I think I'm never missing another Miami Grand Prix. I think I'm going to all of them forever.
Oh, you are a shill with your Miami AlphaTauri shirt behind you.
So the AlphaTauri,
it's not AlphaTauri,
Visa Cash App. That's the Silverstone one.
The Racing Bulls. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a V-Cub shirt with the Slawn artwork on the front of it.
Are you impressed that I knew that was the Miami shirt?
It's not. The Miami shirt was pink.
Oh, was it? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
This year it was pink. That's the Silverstone one, which I keep saying.
Oh,
anyway.
that's the Silverstone one.
In a way, it's nice to have variety. And 2020 was a really interesting year, wasn't it? That's when they sort of brought back in Mugello and Istanbul came back in, Portimao. And so there was some pretty good variety. And actually, some of those races delivered pretty good and interesting challenges. It was at Portimao where they'd come over the crest of a hill and then they couldn't see anything. So
Portimao is one of the best circuits to be created in the 21st century. And it's like everything about it is made. The layout is brilliant. It's got these fantastic undulations. Weather, always fantastic. My favorite thing about Portimao, though, and this is really specific to me, you've got the Parc Fermé area right next to a set of steps that take you up to the podium, which is right next to the commentary box as well. Do you know how handy that is for me in my line of work?
That is quite a niche. I don't think everyone here is going to relate to that.
Maybe not. It's got a great hotel there as well.
I feel like at some point we should have like a 4-person panel and really crack out our rotation and untouchable list.
100%. I'm in for that.
So, because I know some people will say Interlagos should be not on that list, whereas I'll fight tooth and nail for that. But some people say Interlagos is rubbish and it's too tight and twisty.
Well, those people are wrong.
Yeah, I know. Like you were about Kota. This is okay. Right, that is definitely a full episode, isn't it? Let's do that at some point. Later in the year, that'll be an off-season thing. Let's see. Where are we going now? Oh, yeah, I want to do this one. This is from Average Yuki Tsunoda enjoyer. He says, I think it's a bad idea to put 17, 18-year-olds in Formula One, period. The social aspect of Formula One is extremely overwhelming and not exactly safe for someone who is that young of an adult. That said, every driver who's achieved that has rightfully earned it. Starting to strain me there on the every driver who's coming at that age has rightfully earned it. But it does seem like a very, it seems like a very difficult atmosphere to put an 18-year-old. However, 18-year-olds are adults. Every top sport in the world probably has adults that age, and frontline troops are 18. So, and you don't have to be a racing driver if you don't want to be, except for Lance Stroll. Too young? F1?
No, I mean, there was the age limit was introduced basically because of Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
That you can't put a 16, 17-year-old kid in a Grand Prix car anymore. It's minimum 18. And they've even introduced those kind of restrictions into karting now as well. Minimum, competitive karting, like actual championships, which is 8 years old now. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea to have the 18-year-old age limit. I think 18-year-olds coming in is fine, because I think Kimi's proving that as well.
Really, he looked to me. Antonelli looks a little bit strained when he's talking to the cameras and when results aren't going his way. And we've had Lewis Hamilton like feeling the need to go over and go and visit him and make sure he's okay. I think he seems a little bit overwhelmed.
Yeah, but is he going to feel that way if he was 22 and in his first season of Formula One? I think that's more. It's his first season of Formula One, and also you've got to remember this is the first time in his career that he hasn't just come in, won something, and then gone off and done something else. And that is the big thing. I was very concerned about like Lando Norris, for example. I think it was actually a good thing that he didn't win the Formula 2 title the year that he was there, because he had to learn how to lose. And that is the biggest lesson that drivers learn their first year of Formula One, because generally, you're coming in and winning everything. Like Oscar won everything in 1 year on the way to Formula One. There was point to the last year in his life where he didn't win a championship prior to Formula One.
Magnussen
to come in.
Yeah, Magnussen apparently was like that as well, just completely bewildered with I thought I was just gonna win here.
Magnussen was similar because he was winning all the Formula Renault series. Like you had the 2-liter series and the 3.5, which was a sort of an alternative to Formula 3 and Formula 2 at the time, which sadly no longer exists. But they are, they have to learn how to lose. And I feel like with Antonelli specifically, it was going to be the same thing, whether he's 22, 42, or 18. I mean, you're not going to sit there and tell me that Hamilton never looks overwhelmed or upset or blah, blah, blah.
I think that your brain is better able to handle those things the older you get. And so I think at your age, I would have said, 18-year-old, you're a fully formed adult and, ready to go. At
my age.
When I was your age, I think I would have said the same thing. Whereas now at 44, 18-year-olds do seem like literal children to me. When I speak to an 18-year-old, it's like, I get that you're technically an adult, but you can see how undercooked they are, like emotionally and just the amount of life experience and knowledge they've acquired.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Whereas you're still a young idiot, so you think 18-year-olds are fine and ready to go.
No, they speak a different language.
Yeah.
I can't.
They wear weird shoes. So on a related topic, Alex says, Logan Sargeant wasn't rushed into F1. He was just like many other previous drivers, just not cut out for it. And an extra year in F2 wouldn't have done anything for his career. So he went straight from F3 to F1.
Oh? No.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, but he didn't win F2, so he could have stayed there another year.
No, he was 4th in his rookie year in F2 and then went to F1.
Oof. Did he have the sort of results in F2 where you think, there's real potential here?
He won races.
Oh.
He was decent. He was good in F2, especially as a rookie.
Right.
You know, there was definitely nothing to suggest he wouldn't be, you know, successful, because also he so nearly won the Formula 3 championship as well. So nearly won that in what I think was his first year, if memory serves me correctly. Like, that was a real nail biter that year. And it was the year Oscar won it, actually, in 2020. So yeah, there's definitely nothing in his junior results to suggest he wasn't good enough for Formula One. I think Logan had a particularly rough hand that he was dealt during his time in Formula One.
Explain.
Well, he was given the really struggling Williams team, and it was really only that there was an upturn, wasn't there, during the latter stages of his career, which was when James Vowles was coming in and, you know, break everything. And James decided, nope, not good enough.
But it wasn't. But let's be honest, it wasn't good enough. So it's interesting when you can have drivers that we can look back on and go, well, they had good results in the junior series. But it's really hard to argue that Logan Sargeant did anything enough to even warrant the second year, let alone it be controversial that he hang on beyond that. Because even in the first year, it was looking really rough, and not just performance-wise or not being very fast, but also making a lot of mistakes, costing the team a lot of money. And then in the extension period that he had, it sort of seemed to ramp up. Like, he had even more incidents and caused even more problems. And so, like, what makes a driver who's doing well in the junior series come to F1 and just be completely at sea? And I think we saw it even with De Vries as well, who looked solid everywhere else, then came in and couldn't keep it out the wall.
I'll tell you what, I think 90% of it is mental fortitude,
fortuitiveness.
Yeah,
they've got no bounce back ability.
Do you know what it is? It's 9% luck, 90% mental fortitude, and 1% something else. No, genuinely, I think people put too much pressure on themselves, or they can't handle that pressure. It is bizarre, because we think of these feeder series as being like they're preparing drivers for Formula One. It's like, well, they're not actually doing a very good job of it, to be honest, because, like, yes, okay, it's preparing drivers in the sense that you're driving a car, but there is nothing else in those junior series that really prepares you for the level, because suddenly it's like you are scheduled to the second in terms of places that you need to be. Like, I think even just the media aspect of it is overwhelming enough. And suddenly, like, really realizing how many eyes are on you, because when you're in, you can almost assume that you're completely anonymous, even in Formula 2, because you'll be in your own little corner of the racetrack, shelved far away from Formula 1, where you're not going to dampen their image, right? The only people who are going to be in that space are the people in your championship. So your championship coordinator, your championship social media people, and your team, right? Which is a very tight-knit group of people. It's not like they've got tons of journalists or tons of other media people coming in and giving them, you know, oh, tell us about your race, oh, tell us about all this, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, they're shelved until they go on the racetrack. So I can understand it suddenly being so overwhelming, being in the Formula One paddock, which is packed with people and eyes and expectations and pressure. And I feel like that is just one element that you suddenly now have to deal with. As we were talking about earlier, like, still a very young developing human being. Like, even if you're at the upper end of the age of drivers who tend to come into Formula One now at like 22, for example, that's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
I wonder, with some of the financially backed drivers, whether there's a little bit of impatience, because they've been investing from the family's point of view. They've been investing for 10 years probably already, getting up to that point, and starting from, probably like 5-6 years old. And then so you get to 18, 19, you've done all right in Formula 2. You've believed in yourself. This kid that you've been funding all the way through has been actually winning stuff. And so it's quite tempting to go, yeah, they're ready, and not listen to outside voices that say, well, maybe you shouldn't buy this seat this year. Maybe you should have another year spending on how much does it cost to fund an F2 seat?
2.5.
Yeah. So do we spend another 2 million, or do we just bite the bullet and spend 50 million on a Williams seat?
Do you know what? It's probably more than that now. It's about
Yeah.
2.5 mil. When I was working in Formula 2, you're probably looking at about 4 or 5 now for a top seat.
Yeah.
Because even Formula 4 now can cost £1 million for the full package, which is outrageous for Formula 4.
So when you consider should we buy the F1 seat, and let's not be shy about this. A lot of these seats are bought. That's the next thing. You can take off the price of another F2 season, can't you? By saying, right, let's rush into F1.
Maybe. I personally, I don't think that it would have made that much difference. Maybe the confidence. But mind you, nothing ever struck me as him like lacking confidence or having some sort of confidence problem. So no, I don't think that year would have made much difference. I feel like there are some drivers who just can't handle the pressure of Formula One. They're better suited to racing in other championships. I feel like he would be a very successful sports car racing driver, to be honest, in prototypes, for example.
And like, you are much more of a successful broadcaster and commentator than you ever were a journalist, Chris Stevens. So I'm glad we got your story of Le Mans.
Or PR person either. Let's not forget that.
Well, don't you actively still have some PR clients? So we'd better pretend you're still good at it.
Yeah, but like
he's still really good at PR. I promise, he's still really good at PR. So if you want to get in touch with Chris, we've got all his links to his social media in the show notes below. Really looking forward to the season starting back. I'm saying that now before I go on holiday. When this is published, I will be very much Sun Lounger adjacent. So don't worry about me. I can wait until Zandvoort. However, I am looking forward to the season getting back up and running. We've got Zandvoort, and then it's a double header, I think, with Monza shortly after that. A track that every single year I say I'm going to go to Monza for my birthday and be there, and every single year I fail to plan for that. But until we see you next, work hard, be kind, and have fun. This was Missed Apex Podcast. Make your best F1 noise, Chris. It's not bad.